as part of their holdings. Some cities in Canada don't have any other news, local news, other than a Sun Media product. For example, my city.
Okay? And mine too.
Yeah. And that's pretty dangerous because Ezra Levant writes for the paper in these cities. You know, it's pretty incredible. And so it'd be helpful. Obviously, our listeners don't go to Sun TV, I don't think, unless they're doing it for the same reasons that I am, and just out of morbid fascination. But maybe it's helpful to understand what the people who don't agree with us have pumped into their heads. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then quickly get your mind floss out and do a quick cleaning right afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because that is some seriously difficult stuff to take there, listening to what he has to say. Yeah. What do we have up next, man?
Well, there was a kind of curious article that we had both read earlier in the week about, well, I don't even want to say about Justin Trudeau. It's titled Justin Trudeau's Real Chance, Leave Yesterday's Men Behind. And it's kind of a curious article in that it talks about Justin Trudeau as a possible Liberal leader, and then it talks about Justin Trudeau, maybe that the future of Justin Trudeau would be to move from the Liberals to the NDP, but it's kind of sandwiched in with some other information that I think we need to talk about after we talk about the article in itself. What were your initial impressions of this article? Did you think that how serious do you think this author was in even suggesting that
I just thought it was a really interesting article. I've never seen an article start off going down one what I thought was a predictable vein, and saying again, it's calling for some sort of merge of the progressive parties, which I didn't think was sincere at all. I thought it was just more of denigrating the Liberals' chances under Trudeau. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's what I took too.
Yeah. So fine, whatever. I've read 100,000 of those so far, and things related to that, and I'm cool with it. But I don't even know why I kept reading. But I got to the part where he starts talking out of the blue. He switches it to what Stephen Harper has done to the Department of Fisheries and Oceans.
And that's where the article obviously gets really interesting. I don't know, maybe he wasn't, but maybe that's what this guy wanted to do, was write an article on the Department of Fisheries, and this was the only way he could figure out, was to sandwich it into this other article. Yeah, but it does seem like two distinct articles.
Yeah, and we're going to put this up for people to check out too, because it is quite good. And he segues from the idea that Justin Trudeau should just fold the Liberal Party into the NDP in order to avoid more stuff like what Stephen Harper is doing to the Department of Fisheries. Mm-hmm. And I know that was a major part of Bill C-10, like the budget bill there.
Bill C-38.
Bill C-38. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Bill C-30. No Bill C-10 is the copyright one, or the internet one. Anyway, yeah, but I didn't pay much attention to that. And
no, I'd missed this too.
Right. Okay. So get this, right? By basically essentially castrating the Department of Fisheries, and the way they're doing this is that they're not issuing, this is just an example, they're not issuing lobster tags. So that when you get a lobster license, you go out and it's a free-for-all, the Wild West. If you don't have lobster tags, your own personal lobster tag on your trap, they can't tell if you're actually using your own traps. Like, there's nothing stopping a lobster guy from going out and taking from someone else's traps. And
there's putting also out more than he's allowed or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a free-for-all out there. And so goodbye lobsters, right?
Yeah, except, the interesting thing in this article, too, is that it goes to show that there is also a divide here that Stephen Harper is devising between small fishermen and the larger corporate fishing outfits. It's going to be the small fishermen that are going to have more frustrations in dealing with this, because even if they decide to just say, screw it, if that's the way this system is going to work, and try to overfish too, they're going to be way overfished by the larger corporate outfits.
Exactly.
And in the end, you can't win as a small fisherman.
Right.
You literally can't.
Exactly.
And it hurts them too, because the whole cost of the operation is now downloaded onto the fishermen, and they have the gall to say these are the people who are profiting from it, they should be the people paying for it.
Right.
And then they also say that money is going to go directly into the government's pocket rather than into the Department of Fisheries to fund it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this just has the fishermen baffled, you know.
Well, here they should be. I don't think there's some people that are baffled. I think it's more disbelief than lack of understanding. I think they know what the writing's on the wall. So you know, all these fishermen there's many independent operators, like a dude that owns a boat. The boat was passed down from his father. The boat is the main family asset. It's going to be passed down to the children. Do you know what I mean? These are fishing families. These are independent operators out in the Atlantic. Okay, and I use the Atlantic and possibly the Pacific too, but in my mind I just associate the fisheries with the Atlantic.
I think there's
more
closures
dependency.
are mostly on the East Coast,
yeah.
So that's probably why you're thinking of the Atlantic.
Yeah, and so what happens when Stephen Harper also, at the same time as he destroys the Fisheries Act, he disembowels the EI program to make it more difficult for seasonal workers to access it. Fishermen go on EI in the off season. That's just the way it is.
Looks like they're going to have to spend some of their time looking for another job.
That and how long would you want to maintain that kind of lifestyle? You know, you're also required to travel for the job. I'll tell you what's going to happen. The fisheries are going to come under the control of international fishing companies. The independent operators are not going to be able to afford to do it. They're going to look for a year-round job, whatever that is. Could be a call center, it could be McDonald's, it could be hopping on an international boat and going to fish wherever international fishing companies
or
go.
Maybe moving to Alberta or BC, where they'll be building pipelines.
Being manual labor in the oil patch. Do you know what I mean? So I found it fascinating, and this guy's article actually hinted at how the changes to the EI program and the changes to the Department of Fisheries kind of congeal into a situation that we can see developing in the future, where independent operators are forced off the ocean. And fish stocks are going to be decimated. There's no question about that. If you're not going to issue lobster tags, and you're just asking
for chaos, and that's even what the Department of Fisheries people have said. They've used the term utter chaos. Yeah. It's the only way they can describe what they expect to happen.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. So we see this on every level, in every facet of the Canadian economy, where the resources and the business is being handed up to giant corporations, and independent farmers are under siege in the prairie provinces as the wheat board is being dismantled. The Fisheries Act and the EI program are being dismantled to destroy the independent operators on the ocean out there. So interesting.
This isn't an isolated event. It's the way that he operates.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly mention too that one thing that I think is very disingenuous that Stephen Harper is doing here is they're trying to present this as a modernization aspect, that these fishermen, they just don't want to, you're going to have an email account if you want to set lobster traps, ha 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 ha. Like, these stupid fishermen don't know, like, that's what they're implying, right? All these guys are just stupid fishermen, and they don't know how to use the internet, and they're upset because they're going to have an email address to fish. It's like, no, that's not the point.
That's not the point. Yeah, because if you present it like that, then who's going to sympathize with the fishermen? Oh, just because you have to have an email address, now you're going to throw up your arms and protest? No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about being forced out by giant operators and having the stocks ruined by lack of ability to police it.
And the other disingenuous aspect of this too is that it's being presented as fiscal responsibility, where this is the worst aspect of what you could say is fiscally responsible, because it might look like they're saving money on paper with their cuts to the Department of Fishery and Oceans, but the chaos and that this is going to cause to the economy on the East Coast if they do this is you know, you can't, I guess you can't write that into the books, or you don't have to for everyone to see, but this is not fiscally responsible. This is irresponsible.
Yeah.
In every way.
I think that when people take a look at what looks to be an isolated situation like the dismantling of the Department of Fisheries, also look at it as part of a bigger conservative ideology-driven plan, and also look at it in terms of the ripple effects it has through the rest of the economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Atlantic is going to be devastated, absolutely devastated by this.
I mean, you know, to say that it's purposeful, I think isn't unfair either. I mean, what else can you expect when you don't, like, you know, when you stop using, like you said, lobster tags? This has the people, these fishermen, you know, people want to think that everybody's like a greedy corporation, like we started off with, sitting on like a pile of cash, and that fishermen would just fish as much as they could if they could fish more. But not everybody's like that. And some of these people understand sustainability, and they're the ones who actually have that as a concern.
The people that want to hand their boat down to their children want to have fish stocks left for those children too. Because what good's a boat without the fish, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so if the government's setting it up where the fish stocks are going to be depleted by giant companies almost instantaneously, while the overhead is dumped on the independent operators and the giant companies equally, you know, the giant companies can afford it and the little guy can't. Then you're gonna have a different plan. Like the guy who goes out on the ocean to earn his living for his family, thinking that he's building assets for the next generation to follow him. Those fishermen are going to understand that the plan has just changed, that their children are not going to be doing what they're doing, you know. And there's many families out there that have a strong, like ancient lineage of fishermen, people that are so deeply ingrained in the maritime fishing culture that it's going to be a culture shock. First and foremost, it's going to be a culture shock. It's really unfortunate, man. Like just the levels to which Stephen Harper is gutting Canada, you know.
What he's done here, and it's definitely not uniting fishermen and farmers on a good level. But I think, like you pointed out earlier, with the same approach being taken to the prairie provinces and the dismantling of the wheat board, I think that you know, there might be a conversation to be had amongst those two groups, because they're going to need to be able to assist each other in the sense of looking at what each other is able to do in their various circumstances, because their circumstances are so similar.
Yeah.
Oh, and Stephen Harper and his ministers. I mean, how do these guys keep coming up with the ridiculous things that they keep saying and doing too? Do you have a little clip that you can play us to segue into another piece here and talk a bit about Jason Kenney, who I think wins the Idiocy Award for...
if you're gonna get the Idiocy Award going, let's give the first one to Jason Kenney here. It's absolutely unbelievable. I'll play you a clip.